So this is module 11, managing team performance. Tell me, what do you think about, or what do you think is the management of team performance in the chat box? Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay, good. So what I want you to do is keep a note of those two definitions, because that's always a good way of starting your assignment. So my suggestion is open a second Word document or write it down under module 11, managing team performance. So Kelly, you've written now how to interact with your team, how to work with your team to get the best from them, and how to manage poor performance. Sophie, you have written making sure everyone knows what they need to do, but also need to make sure everyone has equal opportunity and equal jobs or roles, and also to make sure everyone can do their best and get the support they need. So that's great. I want to show you this. So it's a bit like when you do your PESTEL analysis, when we're looking at team performance, we want to make sure that we are assessing at the time, okay? And then we're looking at what we need to plan and then how we need to develop that, okay? So if I show you this little, and I will make sure that I share this with you so that you can refer back to it. So, team performance. When we have our team performance level 1, we have commitment, discipline, growth, and courage. Okay, so that's team performance. What we want to do is move it up to the second level here. So, client focus, productive meetings, resolution of challenges, result centers, common objectives, effective communication, feedback and guidance, and an atmosphere of trust. So what we want to do here is, okay, I'll ask you the question. If you were going into a new team and you wanted to manage their performance based on what we discussed in your own personal performance in module 1 and module 9 and module 13. So if you were to take a team in the same respect, what would you think that you might start with? You can put it in the chat or come off your mic, entirely up to you. What do you think you might start with?
I suppose you'd learn their strengths and their weaknesses.
So what would we
Learn
use?
the SWOT, I suppose, like a version of it. You wouldn't get them to sit and necessarily get them to sit down. Maybe observation, working alongside them for a couple of days to see how they perform, how they interact with each other, and how they interact with, well, I suppose in our case, with residents or
Yeah.
with visitors and stuff coming in.
So exactly that. We need to understand their performance right now. So we would want to do an analysis of that, which is using the SWOT analysis. So we would look at what the team's strengths were, what the team's weaknesses were, what the team's opportunities were, and what their threats would be. And they won't be dissimilar to your own personal. You will change some of them. So the first thing we should do is an analysis of the team, and the best and simplest way is to use a SWOT analysis. Now, there is plenty of other things in terms of 360s, peer observations, appraisals, but they're really additional tools that you would use if you wanted to go that wee bit deeper. So if I said, what would you do next? So if you carried out your SWOT analysis and you observed your team and you had a record of all the strengths and weaknesses, Sophie, feel free to put it in the chat box if you wish. But what would you think about doing next?
I think I would probably arrange jobs that use their strengths to the best and then support them to build on their weaknesses. See where you could enter, like put in training or work alongside them to strengthen their weaknesses.
Excellent, excellent. So what we want to do is, you've probably seen it in your workplace, is that people are often put in the wrong roles. And what do I mean by that? I mean that everyone has their own, what's the word I'm looking for? Has their own sort of natural alignment with um with roles and responsibilities, etc. So I just want to show you here. This is going to be your first theory for management. So if you want to take some notes on this is called Belbin's team preferred roles. Okay. Now there's lots and lots and lots of information on Belbin's, probably one of my favorite theories. I'm going to give you some additional resources in terms of Belbin. So Belbin's theory is that everyone has different strengths. So here we would look at action roles. So there's a shaper, challenges the team to improve, which I would say that if you're not quite there, you are of that personality. An implementer, so it puts ideas into action. A completer or a finisher ensures thorough timely completion. Coordinator acts as a chairperson. A team worker encourages cooperation. Resource investigator explores outside opportunities. And then the thinking roles is a plant, which is someone will come up with new ideas and approaches. A monitor or evaluator analysing the options, and a specialist which provides specialist needs. So what I'm going to do is I want you to take a note of Belbin's preferred roles theory. I will give you some additional resources on Belbin. And I'm going to see if I can find particularly Belbin's theory applied to the care industry to explain that a wee bit more. But for example, I personally would probably be an action role person. I'm better at people, not great at the whole thinking roles. So Belbin's theory is that you have a preferred role, and if we manage our teams correctly, then we are able to put those people within that sphere, and they will work better. They will be more suited and they'll be more motivated. His secondary theory is that we have a second preferred role. So not everyone's going to be able to do, one of those. And also, we might not have 9, or we might have 3 plants, or we might have 4 coordinators, which the old saying, too many cooks can spoil the broth. So there's where we're looking at the different types of people and where they might be better suited. Now, it does take a wee while to have this theory sort of in your head and understand it. I would also say that, remember, this is a theory. This is a leadership and management team development theory. So in the real world, it won't necessarily work ideally. Like, that's not going to happen. What we need to do as leaders and managers is be aware of these theories, and if we're able to use them in a practical and realistic way, then we can. So I suppose if I'm looking at me, I'm thinking to myself, if you put me as a monitor or evaluator, so I have to do, for example, monitoring for the Department of Economy for the apprenticeships. Now, in terms of assessments and writing up notes on each learner, I enjoy that because I like to get to know you. I love the fact that you're on a course. I love the fact that you're developing, and I love the fact that I'm supporting you. However, when it comes to those files and checking information and going back over information, I lose the will to live. Like, I struggle with it. I have them sitting beside me for 3 days, and I will get round to them eventually. But if we're looking at that in terms of team management, the time that and resources that I could be using elsewhere. Now, it's just the way it works in here, and that's fine. But there's elements there that I could be going and recruiting new learners, or getting them involved, or getting them motivated, rather than sitting doing paperwork. Another example is that I have a very busy house, and outside Rutledge, I own my own business, and I have a bookkeeper. I've had her for 10 years, and the amount of people who have said, but just do your own books, just do your own tax returns. And I don't know how many times I've explained the same thing, is that she will do it because she's an expert in her field in about 1/8 of the time, if not even less than I would do it. So for me, it's time better spent. I would prefer to pay her 4 hours every year to do my tax returns while I'm out either teaching or consulting with businesses, because I feel that is time and resource better spent. It's also the reason that I have a cleaner that comes once a week, because again, I would probably sit at my computer and mark assignments and interact with learners and help them and reply to emails and read up on my courses, or I'm doing stuff with the kids, than clean. It's just not in my DNA. So, there's sort of examples where we take a theory like this, like Belbin's theory, and we look at it objectively, not subjectively. So we're looking at it, what can I use this for? How can I use this? Will it help me in terms of time management? Will it help me in terms of delegation, which is a massive art that often people don't realize is very difficult to master. So what I would ask you now is, what are your thoughts on Belbin's team preferred roles theory? Feel free to put it on the chat or chat to me, entirely your decision.
It makes sense in a way.